Johnny Talk Sports in with the Week 7 NFL predictions. Last week I went 10-4, which puts my overall record at 61-33 on the season so far. And I have had 5 weeks in a row where I've had at least 10 picks correct. And I don't want to sound overconfident here. I'm going to try to remain humble. But I think there's a good possibility that I'm going to have at least 10 picks correct again this week. Because I just don't really see a lot of good matchups here. And I think we're in for blowout Sunday this week. We had a lot of blowouts, at least in the early portion of the games last week at that 1 o'clock Eastern games. We've had quite a few blowouts there. And they got better towards the late afternoon, and then the primetime games were great. Sunday night and Monday night were good games as well. But looking at the games this week, I think there's really only about 3 games that are kind of worth the hype, and those games are the Chiefs and Titans, the Bengals and the Ravens, and maybe the Colts and 49ers. I mean, I could throw in the Saints and the Seahawks. That could be a good one as well. But we'll see. You just never know. They always say any given Sunday, so maybe I'm completely wrong here. But this will probably be less than 15 minutes, so if I can just have 15 minutes of your time, that would mean a lot to me, and I'd really appreciate it. So week number 7 begins with the Broncos and the Browns on Thursday Night Football. The Browns, they are decimated with injuries right now. Jedrick Wills has been dealing with an injury since week 1. Nick Chubb is banged up right now, and he did not play in week 6 against the Cardinals. It's possible he might be back this week, but it's unknown at this time. Kareem Hunt is expected to miss some time. And Baker Mayfield was in a sling Sunday against the Cardinals. Post-game, he was seen with the sling on. So his status is in question for week number 7. But if Mayfield plays in this game, I think the Browns win. But if he doesn't, I think the Broncos win this game. I just think that Baker Mayfield, despite people not really knowing what to think of Baker Mayfield, one week he does really great, and then one week he doesn't look good at all. Then maybe there's 2 games where he looks really great, and then there's 1 game where he doesn't do well. So it's kind of hard to predict Baker Mayfield week by week. But I think him playing has a direct impact on the Browns winning easy against the Broncos. And for the Broncos, they played the Giants, the Jaguars, and the Jets in the first 3 weeks of the year. And they have not done well at all since. And I think if the Broncos were to lose to the backup quarterback of the Browns, I think that would put Vic Fangio in the hot seat. But Baker Mayfield plays, Browns win. If he doesn't, the Broncos will win. Next, we got the Washington football team and the Packers. We still have yet to see the Washington defense live up to its full potential from last season, although they did get some turnovers against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs last week. But the Chiefs, they still won convincingly. And the Packers, they are doing really well since that 0-1 start against the Saints after getting blown out in the opening week. And when you're the Washington defense and you just went up against Patrick Mahomes, and yes, you did get some turnovers, but they still lost in dominant fashion. The last thing you want to do next week is to go up against Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau, and I think the Packers win this easily. Next, we have the Chiefs and the Titans, one of the few good games this week in my opinion. And the Titans, they are coming off of a short week, playing on Monday Night Football against the Bills. But even though they do say that playing with a short week, teams that are coming off of a short week, they typically don't do that well. But I think this is going to be different here for the Titans. Because the Titans, they don't have to travel. They stay at home. And that win against the Bills, I think that provides some confidence for them moving forward. And the Chiefs, right now, you can say that they're struggling all that you want, but they really aren't. Because their 3 losses this season were up until last night on Monday Night Football against teams that were 4-1, that only had 1 loss on the year. So you can say they're struggling all you want, but the Chiefs, I think they're still fine. And I did say that the Chiefs were, last week, I said they would win at least 6 of their next 8 games. I think this is one of those couple games that they don't win. I'm going to pick the Titans to essentially pull off the upset here. I just think that the win against Buffalo does provide confidence for the Titans moving forward. And I think they pick up another win. Next, we have the Falcons and the Dolphins. This honestly could be a good game, but it's just the teams that are playing in it that don't really make it as entertaining as a matchup such as the Chiefs and Titans. I mean, the Falcons, they are coming off of a bye week after beating the Jets in London, while the Dolphins, they're coming off of a heartbreaking loss to the Jaguars in London last week. And Tua came back last week, and he looked pretty well against the Jaguars, but it was the Jaguars. But Tua gets to play another mediocre defense in the Falcons defense. And for the Falcons, Calvin Ridley is back this week after missing the game against the Jets due to personal reasons. Kyle Pitts finally showed his potential and what he can provide for the Falcons offense, as it was inevitable that he was going to get a touchdown eventually. So could this be Kyle Pitts finally making his way, making his presence known in that Falcons offense? I think it might, and I think that the Falcons, they pick up a road win here. So I think they beat the Dolphins. I just think the win against the Jets provides some confidence, even though it's the Jets. A win is a win, essentially, and the bye week. So I think the Falcons win this game. Probably one of the few times that I'll pick the Falcons this season, as I picked them against the Giants and the Jets, and they won both those games. So the Falcons are 2-0 when I pick them. And they are 0-3 when I don't pick them. So, moving on to the Jets and the Patriots. I think that this is an obvious one. Patriots are going to win this one. I just think that they're motivated after last week's heartbreaking loss against the Cowboys. It was a game where they probably could have won, and they fell just short. So I'm going to pick the Patriots to beat the Jets, and honestly, yes, the Jets beat the Titans, but I would probably never pick the Jets unless they went on a major winning streak at some point. Panthers and the Giants, or should I say the Panthers against probably Kadarius Toney. Maybe even Devontae Booker, who knows. I think the Panthers, I think they'll pick up another win here against a mediocre Giants team, although I still think the Panthers, they are quite overrated, and I think the Panthers are honestly pretenders at this point in the year. Next, we got the Bengals and the Ravens. The Bengals are playing really well this season so far. In fact, I will say this. I think the Bengals have been the most impressive team so far this season because they have already exceeded a lot of expectations. I saw some people throughout social media predict that they would only win about 3 or 4 games this season. And they are a field goal away from being at least 5-1. And they are a missed field goal plus one less pick six. And the pick six in week 2 that Joe Burrow threw against the Bears. If that pick six doesn't happen, if he doesn't throw that interception, and if McPherson makes the game-winning field goal against Green Bay, the Bengals could be sitting at 6-0 right now, potentially, or at the very least 5-1. So the Bengals exceeding expectations so far, but I just think they're going to get a reality check here against the Ravens, because the Ravens, they have just looked great since the week 1 loss against the Raiders. And I think the Ravens will dominate this game. The Bengals, I think they get humbled a bit. Next, got the Eagles and the Raiders. And I don't really know who to pick in this one. The Raiders, they overcame some adversity last week and dominated against the Broncos with the distractions that went on around within the franchise in the recent week. But I just think the Eagles will win this one. I just kind of feel like they're on some momentum after last week, only losing by 6 to Tom Brady and the Bucs. I just hope that this is the week that we can finally see Miles Sanders get unleashed. Because if the Eagles would just utilize Miles Sanders correctly, I think they can win some games. The fact that Nick Sirianni has not utilized Miles Sanders correctly, it's kind of frustrating to watch. Because Miles Sanders, I think, is the most underappreciated running back in the National Football League. And the fact that he's not being utilized to his full potential, that's completely disappointing. So if Nick Sirianni can just get Miles Sanders, just give him at least 17 carries, and I guarantee the Eagles will win. Lions and the Rams, Stafford going against his old team, which honestly, I get this. I like the storyline for that. I think Stafford, I think the best way to beat your former team is to completely dominate. I think you will. Maybe 5 touchdowns. I'm kind of hoping that he has 5 touchdown passes, because I may or may not have him in a couple fantasy leagues. Rams on top in that one. Texans and the Cardinals. DeAndre Hopkins going up against his former team in the Texans. I think that Hopkins will... I'm kind of hoping that Hopkins has about a 2 or 3 touchdown game, because, again, I may or may not have Hopkins in a couple fantasy leagues. But Cardinals will win without a doubt. I think there's no question in mind on that one. Bears and the Buccaneers. I mean, the Bears defense, they played solid against the Packers, but that game just got away from them in that fourth quarter. So can the Bears defense keep the Bears in the game? But how long can they really keep them in the game? I mean, the Bears beat Tom Brady last year on Thursday Night Football, so that Bears defense, we know what they're made of. But it's just hard to bet and pick against Tom Brady, especially when he's playing so well at 44 years old. I think the Buccaneers win this game, but I think the Bears, they do make this game close, even with rookie quarterback Justin Fields. Because the Buccaneers, they are really decimated with injuries within that secondary. So I think it's a close one. But the Bucs still win. Colts and 49ers, Sunday Night Football. Jonathan Taylor for the Colts has been phenomenal these last 3 weeks. While the 49ers, it's unknown who the quarterback is going to be, whether it's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo or rookie Trey Lance. Trey Lance didn't show up to the practice on Monday, so maybe it's being speculated that Jimmy Garoppolo will be starting for the 49ers this week. But Lance and Garoppolo, they both have the opportunity to heal from their injuries. No matter who the quarterback is, I mean, the quarterback of this matchup could be Brett Favre, and I'd probably still pick the Colts in this game. It's kind of a flip of the coin game for me, here between the Colts and 49ers, but I will pick the Colts in this one. I just think Jonathan Taylor's been doing so well recently. If the 49ers defense can stop the run, if they can stop Jonathan Taylor, contain him, 49ers pick up the win, but I just gotta pick the Colts for the sake that I've only picked like 3 or 4 road teams so far, and I don't like that ratio personally. And finally, Monday Night Football, the Saints and the Seahawks. And honestly, I don't really know if I'm gonna really watch this game personally. Jameis Winston and Geno Smith. I mean, I'm gonna pick the Seahawks because they came so close to beating the Steelers last week. And I think this is going to be a must-win for Seattle. because the Cardinals and the Rams are running away in the NFC West. So this is a must-win for Seattle. If they don't win this game, I think that, I mean, maybe too early to call, but I think Seattle doesn't make the playoffs. I think they're going to be out of playoff contention if they lose this game. So I think they pick up the win in front of the 12th man. I do, however, think that they will be carried by DK Metcalf and probably Alex Collins, who did really well on Sunday night against a really strong Steelers defense. So those are my picks for Week 7. For review, I have the Browns if Baker Mayfield plays, the Broncos if he doesn't, the Packers, Titans, Falcons, Patriots, Panthers, Ravens, Eagles, Rams, Cardinals, Buccaneers, Colts, and Seahawks this week. Like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, have a great day.